All right, if there are any changes to the minutes, if not, do I have a motion to accept?
I make a motion that we accept the minutes as submitted by the clerk of council for the regular meeting of April 10th, 2014, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right,
The financial report.
I misplaced my sheet. Can I grab it? Okay. All right, next we're going to have financial report acknowledgement.
Yes.
Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to acknowledge the receipt of the financial report dated March 31st, 2014.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're going into comments by the public right now. In order to make comments, we have a sign-in sheet. We ask you to please sign in prior to the meeting. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes, and we ask you to come to the front to this microphone, state your name and address. And the first name on the list this evening is Terry Hudak.
Hello, everybody. I'm here because I have an announcement to make that the Macedonia Society is going to have a fundraiser for Mayor Long's house. We want to continue to renovate it like it has been done. And our fundraiser we're going to have will be on June 21st at the Blue Willow on Freeway Drive. It consists of spaghetti, meatball, salad, bread, and soft drinks. And we appreciate all the help that we've had from the city and from the residents of Macedonia and outside of Macedonia. And also, I knew Mayor Long personally, and if Mayor Long could come back to life, you know what he would say? Amazing grace, how sweet it is that the people and the city appreciates what I've done for the city of Macedonia by donating 300 acres of my land for the people. And he donated a lot of stuff to individual people also. So again, he would say, God bless America, and God bless each and every one of us. And we do have tickets for this here fundraiser. After the council meeting, you can go and you can talk to John Cashmer, the president of it. And I want to thank each and every one of you. And again, I say may God bless each and every one of us and all of our families. Thank you.
All right, Terry, our Macedonia messenger is due out within the next 2 days. Why don't you call my office, talk to Diana, and tell her I asked for you to have some kind of an announcement in the messenger. That'll help get the word out, all right? All right, next on the list is Paula Fowles. Paula?
Hello, Paula Fowles. Lived in Macedonia since 1974. I'm now a resident of Summit Point. I am the president of the Residents Town Hall group. This is a group that gets together once a month and discusses problems within the community and without. I've been asked to bring 2 problems to council. One, people are questioning the signage at Valley View, North Bedford, Aurora Road, down here at the corner. Those of us that live here drive past that every day and don't pay much attention to it. People are complaining that relatives from out of town have a problem getting lost and not knowing where to go. Wait a second here. There is the sign at Valley View and Aurora Road says Valley View, and it looks like it goes both ways. Aurora Road goes this way. The next sign they see is on the light post, which says North Bedford with an arrow. Now, does that mean there's a road down that way that's called North Bedford, or is that North Bedford Road? Because the first sign they see says Valley View. And then they turn onto what we know as Valley View, excuse me, and on the signpost it says Aurora Road. Now, I never paid any attention to this until it was brought to my attention, and I thought, no wonder people get confused. It is confusing. And they're wondering if something could be done. Possibly, one of their suggestions was to put an arrow on the Valley View sign and take down this Aurora sign that is actually on the stoplights on Valley View that says Aurora.
It's funny how we never noticed
I
that.
know, I never
Amazing.
noticed it either. I drove up one day, I thought, no wonder they're confused.
Sure. Thanks for bringing that to our attention.
The second problem is the hill on Valley View, going up Valley View this way. Right before the condos, there's a hill. People pulling out of Summit Point are having trouble seeing the cars come over that hill because they're going quite fast. There is one tree that kind of obscures the view. And they were wondering if a sign could be put up, like driveway ahead or something, and the city could keep that tree trimmed. Okay, that's another thing I've never noticed, but after it was brought to my attention, I looked and they're right. Thank
All
you.
right, good job. All right, Paul. All right, we're going to move right into pending and/or new legislation, starting with ordinance number 36-2014.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 36, 2014 for its second reading by title only, please.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a purchase contract with Incom Integrated Computer Systems, Inc. in order to upgrade the city's existing video system.
And next is ordinance number 38-2014.
I'd like to offer ordinance 38, 2014 for its second reading by title only.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 26, 2014 in order to appropriate funds for the Airline Drive Improvement Project.
Next is ordinance number 39, 2014.
I'd like to offer ordinance number 39, 2014 for its second reading by title only.
One second, please. An ordinance amending ordinance number 26, 2014 in order to appropriate funds for the Westwood Drive Improvement Project.
Moving on, ordinance number 40, 2014.
I'd like to offer ordinance number 40, 2014 for its first, second, and third reading by title only, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance approving the editing and inclusion of certain ordinances as parts of the various component codes of the codified ordinances of the City of Macedonia.
And basically, this is something that we do every year just to keep all the bookwork and everything right concerning ordinances. What's your pleasure?
I move that we pass and post according to law ordinance number 40, 2014, please.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannikin?
Yes.
Mr. Molnar.
Yes.
Ms. Tully?
Yes.
Ordinance 40, 2014 passes. Moving on, ordinance 41, 2014.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance 41, 2014 for first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An emergency ordinance amending section 54910B of the codified ordinances of the City of Macedonia in order to address a clerical error.
And what's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we pass and post ordinance 41, 2014 according to law.
Second?
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannigan?
Yes.
Mr. Molnar,
Yes.
Ms. Tully?
Yes.
Ordinance 41, 2014 passes. Ordinance number 42, 2014.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 42, 2014 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Excuse me just 1 minute. An emergency ordinance amending ordinance 26, 2014 in order to make appropriation for police training.
And what's your pleasure?
I move that we pass and post ordinance number 42, 2014 according to law.
Second?
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannigan?
No.
Mr. Molnar,
Yes.
Ms. Tully?
Yes.
Ordinance 42, 2014 passes. Ordinance number 43, 2014.
I'd like to offer ordinance 43, 2014 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An emergency ordinance amending ordinance number 26, 2014 in order to make appropriation for dispatch training.
And what's your pleasure?
I move that we pass and post according to law ordinance 43, 2014.
Second?
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannigan?
Yes.
Mr. Molnar,
Yes.
and Ms. Tully?
Yes.
Ordinance number 43, 2014 passes. Ordinance number 44, 2014.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 44, 2014 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An emergency ordinance amending and supplementing the 2014 annual appropriations ordinance number 26, 2014.
And what's your pleasure?
I move we pass and post according to law ordinance 44, 2014.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannigan?
Yes.
Mr. Molnar,
Yes.
Ms. Tully?
Yes.
Ordinance 44, 2014 passes. Ordinance 45, 2014.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 45, 2014 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No.
No.
Roll call.
Mr. Engel, excuse me, I'm sorry, Ms. Darrow.
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannigan?
Yes.
Mr. Molnar,
No.
Ms. Tully?
No.
Ordinance,
It just says it's
yeah, it's just
first
said
reading, that's
First,
it.
first reading,
And do you have to read it now, Josephine?
I guess I do, don't I?
yes.
I got a little, all right, sorry about that. An emergency ordinance providing for the review of the charter by the review by the Charter Review Commission, I left off two little letters there, fixing its duties and establishing a procedure for the review.
All right, moving on, are there any other motions or legislative actions this evening?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion amending the purpose of Mayor's Court Fund 220 used for updating software for maintenance to be used for the purchase of general offense code and traffic code yearly updates at a proportional cost determined annually by the Director of Finance. And we didn't get a chance to discuss this in work session. Scott, can you fill us in on this a little more?
It's just a motion that would allow us to use the Fund 220 restricts certain expenses out of that fund that's collected from court costs. It has to be attributed to the direct purchase of software and equipment used by the courts, so it's shared by other departments, so then I have to break down a percentage and try to figure out how much is accessible to other departments.
It relates to the code because the lion's share of the code is, you could see by the
Just
inclusion.
mayor's court?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Are there any other motions or legislative actions? Hearing none, moving on to correspondence from the clerk, who's getting real boggled down here. Sorry, Joseph.
I don't know what that is. I have none, sir.
Okay. Next is the mayor's report. This evening, I'd like to take a minute to commend Sarah Gruska, who is a Nordonia High senior, for enlisting in the Ohio Army National Guard. She will be honored at a recognition ceremony held in Wygen Auditorium at Cleveland State University on May 7th. I would like to personally thank her for her courage and possibly risking her life in defense of our nation. This evening, I feel compelled to thank some very dedicated people in this community for being part of the Future Growth Committee and for revising the Macedonia Comprehensive Land Use Plan that was finished and dated December 4th, 1997. I'm very proud to have served as the chairman and secretary of this committee, and I feel it's necessary to acknowledge the work expended during this process of revising and updating by these citizens. The length of time it took, well over 2 years, to come up with this plan has paid off tenfold for Macedonia. It's time to give a special thank you to each member of the Future Growth Committee. They are, alphabetically, Joan Blackwell, Steve Hawley, Mike Herchek, Leona Jackson, Al Kalish, Peter Napick, Barb Cornick, Sue Metzel, Sam Piscaneri, Shirley Tyrone, and Blake Zimmerman. 17 years have elapsed since the plan was presented, and we can look back now to see how it really was an integral part of the growth that has taken place since then. It ended up being a 72-page long book of our discussions, observations, and opinions of what we felt we would like to see best accomplished in the future of Macedonia. What would the face of the city look like in the future? What would we become? What would make this place a good place to live, to have a family, or bring your business to? Many issues discussed there are still in use today. For instance, like the establishment of the town center concept for architectural consistency, and they're very much in use today. Through the years, we have strived to promote high-quality design and site development. Construction standards here in Macedonia are tough, and it shows. As new buildings are added to promote the use of non-residential land to meet our fiscal responsibilities, it has fostered increased property value. The businesses that came thrived, inviting more businesses to come. All of that has only strengthened the city's ability to maintain fiscal responsibility. Over the years, the plan was, and still is, for the residents to bear a lower share of the tax burden that the residents of many other neighboring communities have. Our real estate taxes remain lower to this day than the rest of Nordonia communities. I'm sorry about that. To me, some of the most interesting parts of revisiting this plan were related to infrastructure. It's interesting to see the need and the concern way back then for that which has transpired. For instance, this is one paragraph out of that report. Quotes, "Widening of 82 has been in the study stages for some time. It is divided into 3 phases. The first phase, which began in 1997 during this project that was being done with the Comprehensive Land Use Plan, includes the street segment between Route 8 and the Conrail Bridge." Well, of course, now the bridge is Norfolk Southern. And it's fully funded with state and federal money. Construction plans include widening the street to 5 lanes, having an additional turning lane at the intersections. The second phase includes widening the pavement between the Conrail, again Norfolk Southern, Bridge and Crow Drive to 5 lanes and reconstructing the railroad bridge. This phase has no funding in place, so it is uncertain if or when this project will be completed. The third phase includes widening the segment east of Crow Drive. Well, guess what? We never could have imagined that in 2014, the 5 lanes and the new railroad bridge is already old news. And the appraisals for widening going east are in process right now for the project scheduled in 2015. It's all happening, and it's already has happened. Housing recommendations, how about this? They included senior citizen housing, plan unit developments, PUDs, and more business office zoning. In other words, zoning that's BO, and that doesn't stand for smell. That's business office. We didn't have what we have today. That's happened. All of this has happened. I'm amazed that so much that we wished for just 17 years ago has happened. I'm not sure which of these people involved in this project or revising the comprehensive plan back then. I don't know where they are today. I've lost touch with many of them over the years, but if you are still able to hear or read this mayor's report, I want to personally thank you for your guidance and foresight. All of your efforts were not wasted. It was worth it. Thank you very much. And that concludes my report. Moving on to committee reports.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to report on the Streets and Highways Committee. We've just had a meeting this evening concerning the cut-in for a second exit from Route 8 into the crossings. And we've had a discussion about the cost of that project would be about $750,000 approximately. The sources of funding have not been identified. And at this point, there's going to be some discussion about whether to even proceed. But at this point, we don't have a source of funding identified. With regard to the upcoming roads meeting, Streets and Highways Committee meeting for Macedonia roads, we have a meeting scheduled for May 14th to review all of our options and costs related to repairing Macedonia roads. And we have a preliminary list that has been provided by the building department. They're reviewing that. We're going to have a complete discussion about options and about what we can afford to do this year and in the following years. So that's you might want to mark that on your calendar. That'll be here at City Hall, 7 o'clock on May 14th.
Ms. Hannigan, I didn't actually identify that on the calendar because I wasn't sure you had firmed up that date. So the calendar is blank, but it says Streets and Highway. I just didn't put the 14th because you originally said the 15th. So,
I did.
so I just want to point that out.
Right. May 14th was an adjustment because of a request by one of the council people that they be able to attend.
Any other department reports? I can do the planning. Rita, I'm sorry, committee. Committee reports, I can do the planning commission. We had about 5 or 6 items on the planning commission agenda. And the planning commission feels very, very strongly that we would like people to be there when we're reviewing plans so that we can ask them questions, give them input. They can give us input. The first 3 items on the agenda, nobody showed up for, and then later on, somebody came for the proposed storage container by Discount Tire. One of the things the city was concerned with was the aesthetics of hiding the old tires. That's a problem. It's always been a problem. And actually, I'm grateful that they're building something there and making it look good to hire those unsightly and dangerous old tires. Why are they dangerous? Fire and also mosquitoes. We changed some ground signs for Parker Corporate Technology, and 7-Eleven is on the agenda for changing some signs. They're going to come back because they weren't there. And the Villas at Taormina is going to make some changes in the site plan. What the changes are, they just are putting a little bend in one of the roads that's going to be built there. They have to make room for an easement, and the good news is that road has to be built because more homes are selling there. Also, there was a proposed variance on Juniper Court, and basically our concerns there were with runoff. We have some houses built in Macedonia, I feel, should have never, ever been built. And we're never, ever going to make those kind of mistakes again. There are houses that flood here in Macedonia because of the way they're situated, where they're located. And at one time, housing didn't even go through Macedonia. A lot of those houses that are troublesome today with flooding were approved by the county, not the city. Are there any other committee reports or department reports? We'll move right into department reports. Jim?
Thank you, Mayor. This Saturday, April 26th, members of the Garden Club and students from Nordonia will be at Memorial Park for a cleanup. They'll be trimming the trees, fixing up those rose bushes, pulling weeds, and I think they're going to be able to help us out quite a bit over there. And then the following weekend, May 3rd, the Kiwanis Club and volunteers, and by the way, there's flyers out there if you want to volunteer, they'll be at Longwood Park. And they're going to be doing the same thing, cleaning up and trying to help us clean up the beds and pick up the rubbish that's around there, or debris. And that will start at 10 o'clock, again, May 3rd. And once they're done, they figure a few hours, they're going to have hot dogs and potato chips when everything's done for the volunteers. And also during the month of May, we're going to start our crack sealing. The roads that we're going to start are Shepherd Hills, Berkshire, Deepwood, South Freeway, North Freeway, and South Bedford. If we still have material and time left on the machine, we'll do additional streets. Also, at the same time while we're doing crack sealing, and when that's going on, I and my trades crew will be on North Bedford completing the stormwater project there. And that will include placing the last 3 catches, 230 feet of pipe, head walls, finishing the driveways, and doing the landscaping. And we hope that the weather will cooperate. Also at that time we'll have, and we're really spreading our crews out, but we're gonna have a couple men doing restorations and keep filling potholes in between. The tub grinder will be at our Valley View yard, 9,000 Valley View yard, the second week of May. That's around the 10th or the 11th. And they're gonna start grinding up the branches and debris that we have there. And once that's all done and mulched, we'll stage it at the old firehouse like we've done in previous years. And hopefully, as long as the weather's cooperating with us, we hope to have all this done in May. And then we can approach our June with additional work that needs to be done. There are quite a few crossovers in town that are starting to collapse, and we're going to have to pay some attention to them. That concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Jim, and thank you for actually being so involved. You know, it's real easy as a department head to send everybody out and say, okay, go to work, you guys. And Jim doesn't do that. He's on site, he's working right next to him, a lot of times helping out, giving advice, interacting. And it's the same with all my department heads. If you go right down the line, each and every department head, Mike goes out on inspections. Angela will be working the front desk. Scott does stuff in the finance department. He has people there to do. And of course, our safety forces go out all the time. So actually what you're looking at is all these people over here participate and help getting the job done. So thank you. Mike.
Thanks, Mayor. Alexandria Way update. We were on the phone with the owner today, or the owner's rep. Mayor was in that conversation with me, and they had mobilized today after our telephone conversation, so they're going to be making temporary repairs tomorrow, and then we're looking at a permanent solution within the next 2 weeks. They have submitted some drawings to Nick. They were not approvable at this point, so we're looking at a revised drawing for those, but at least temporarily they're going to be fixed with Cunningham paving. GFS is moving along nicely, and hoping to get that up and going soon. Enclave, we had a pre-con with them with the rental units. Nick and I and several of my inspectors, we gave them the scenario of how we expect this to be built. We're hoping for a smooth process with this. Our fees, once we ran through everything in the system, are coming to $146,000 in permits. So about $25,000 of that will be escrow. The rest of it is in revenue. Stormwater mapping, we're about 50% complete. We're hoping to finish that this year with GPD, and that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Mike, could I just ask a question? The road problem surrounding where GFS is being installed, has there been any further development about timing when they're going to repair those?
They're fixing the road tomorrow on Alexandria Way in front of Tractor Supply, all that tomorrow, but it's just going to be temporary measures.
They're going to be temporary.
They're going to be temporary measures.
Yeah, one of the roads that's actually collapsed fairly far in, that's going to take longer, or?
We're hoping everything temporarily gets fixed tomorrow.
Okay.
And then, we told them immediately. So it was a pretty heated conversation. They tried to go over Nick and I and get to the mayor, and the mayor was stronger than we were. So
it's a
he
mess.
said, I want to fix now, and pretty much laid down the law.
A lot of
with them,
people
so.
have mentioned that to me, I
Yeah.
guess, because they go over there and various businesses are being affected. Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
Angela.
Thank you, Mayor. The Spirit of Macedonia Community Festival is quickly approaching. That is scheduled for June 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. That is going to be held this year in the Front Recreation Center parking lot along Route 82. Attractions over the 4-day event will include live entertainment, food concessions, fireworks, amusement rides, midway games, costume characters, raffles, roaming artists, a relaxation station, a beer garden, community business and organization booths, and much, much more. There's free admission, free parking, and free entertainment. So we do invite the community to mark their calendars. This is going to be a wonderful event for the community, so we are excited. We have a fantastic fireworks display scheduled for that Saturday night. We do not want to have any issues with the weather, but we do have a rain date for the fireworks, which would be the following night on that Sunday. I did just meet with the ride company this past Friday, so we did finalize the site plan. After that meeting, I have held discussions with the fire chief, so we were able to finalize the fireworks shoot site, which will take place on the north side of 82 this year. So we will start distributing posters and postcards. You'll see newspaper ads. You'll see a lot of activity on the internet. You'll also see portable signs around the community advertising the event about 1 month out. So a couple weeks away for that to begin, but that is all scheduled to come up here soon. So we are still currently seeking volunteers and sponsors. If you have a business or an organization and you'd like to have a booth that's visible and set up for the 4-day event, we do have applications for that as well, so we can include you in our site plan. But we are moving right along. So we are still adding to the schedule. We will have local entertainment as well on Saturday and Sunday afternoons. So if you are interested in being involved, I encourage you to reach out and contact me, and we certainly would love to hear from you.
Angela,
Sounds great.
Angela, what are the costs for the booths?
The nonprofits this year, there is going to be no fee for the community booths, and it's going to be $200 for businesses for all 4 days.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Scott?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a short report. In the March financial report that you have, we're slightly down for the year 7.7%, which translates to $157,716. And for March, we were down $77,000 for the month comparably from last year, 13.73%. One of the other things that Mr. DiGlitano forgot to mention was that we met with the Snyder and Associates that were part of the grant playground swing sets 2 weeks ago, and we went out to site, and we had Jason from the parks and Janelle, and also Jamie Snyder from Snyder and Associates. And what we wanted to do is relocate. Mr. DiGlitano was talking about moving this original site from behind the ball field to a better site closer to Pavilion, but that would cost us some money that he's getting quotes from currently to clear some of those trees. It would open up the site so you could see the pavilion better, and then also it would afford a lot better. There's a lot of trees that are diseased from the birch borer, and so he's in the process of getting those quotes, and I'm thinking we're going to have to come back to council. It's not in the appropriation. If we're going to select that site, we might be looking at about $8,000 to $10,000 just to clear the trees, and maybe, depending on how the quotes come in, he wants to do some additional concrete work. But that was the grant that we had received last year, and I'm hoping that we're going to get that equipment installed this year if everything goes right.
Scott, is Tom back to work yet?
Jim have to
Is
answer
he back
that.
to work?
We'll be back Monday.
Okay, but doesn't he clear trees? I mean, he...
No, not at this magnitude. You're looking at probably about 125 to 140 trees. What we're working now, right now, I'm looking at having the Amish come in. They'll take the trees for free. They'll cut them down. And then what we have to pay for is to have the stumps ground. You know, and that's one way of doing it, and that should save us some money. So we're still working on it a little bit. There's a little things we have to critique. And there's some safety issues too, because all around the pavilion there are dying trees. They've already fallen on the roof. And they need to come down, and also along the park ledge where the houses are, their backyards are at the park. There's also trees there that they're going to be taking down. So it's a big process. We can't have a playground set put anywhere over there with all these trees that could possibly fall or cause any harm. So, but we're working on trying to do it as cheaply as possible. And the concrete that I've been talking about is ADA. It's the Americans Disability Act. Whenever you have a facility like that, or you're going to have any type of equipment for children or for adults, forever, you have to have handicap accessibility. So that's what the concrete's going to go in there for.
Okay.
Put in walks and put in, actually, there's not even a floor at that pavilion. It's all stone. So we'll just make everything so it's accessible for everyone to enjoy.
What was wrong with the original location behind the ball
It's,
field?
Well, you're not supposed to put them back where they were, and this is considerably larger, and it's right by the ball field, where any fly balls or anything can come in and hit the young kids or anybody that's on
My
the
kids
side.
used to play on them
Yeah.
when the
It
games
shouldn't
were
have
going
been.
on. So, I mean, I was just wondering, I mean, there was never an issue, and they're pretty far
Yeah.
back from where the ball field is, so
It's a lot larger, and it won't fit there.
all right.
It's just gonna make it better.
And if I can add, I know when we met with Jamie last year on the playground in in Longwood Park, we had also looked at Sugar Bush, and I know the safety guidelines for playgrounds have changed. The older ones were grandfathered in. Now there are new distances that have to be maintained between playgrounds and then the surrounding structures, which I think where the existing one is, it's too close to the backstop, and it no longer meets today's regulations.
Thank you,
So
Angela.
that was part of it as well.
Thank
All
you.
right, anything else, Scott?
No, that's it, thank you.
All right. Tim?
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to apologize to some residents on Maple Court. We did some fire training on Tuesday night. We had a very small window. The Heiser house there, which would be on the west side of South Bedford, is being taken down for the development, the housing development that's going in there. So we did some training. We stopped it at 10 o'clock. I know dispatch received several calls of what was going on over there. Dispatch didn't know we were doing training, but we had a generator running because there was no lights back there, and we were doing some training. It's a 3-story house, which we don't get to work on very often. So we were doing some laddering outside, and our generator was running so that we had lights back there. So I just wanted to tell everybody what was going on over there. Also, our fire hydrant testing is going on. We'll be starting that very soon. So if you see fire department vehicles, we're gonna obviously put signs up. We're gonna put signs up when we're doing it. It'll be on cable, it'll be in the messenger. We'll try to keep everybody updated, but it's our annual, every hydrant gets flushed, inspected, gaskets get changed, and we go over any maintenance that needs to be done that we detect when we're out doing that. So that's all I have.
Very good. Thank you. John?
I had the pleasure today to be on Joe Miglerini's Cable 9 TV show with Dr. Joe Clark from the schools. So if people want to watch that interview, there were some important facts that Dr. Clark presented, and we discussed a little bit about what we're doing for school safety throughout the district. So that should be on shortly. That's all I have.
Speaking of television, thank you, John, thank you, Tim, for making our city safe. Because we were chosen by Channel 5, actually, we're airing today, so you might see it later on the news. There were 5 cities chosen in Summit County for their outstanding safety services and working with the neighborhoods within that community. And we actually were chosen as one of those 5. And right now they're having a type of voting where certain streets can be voted for. So if you see your street or your friend's street on Channel 5, you can vote on it, and then they'll come to that street and highlight that street. And that's good stuff for our city, thanks to you too. Appreciate it. Nick, what you got? All right, Tom? All right, do we have any unfinished business? New business?
Mr. Mayor, I do have an email from a resident concerning sinkholes on Atterbury and Red Bush. And I don't know, Jim, if you received that same email that you were addressed on it. It was today.
Not yet, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it sounds like the problems in the city's computer system might have prevented you from seeing that. This is a person who has concern about the sinkholes in that area. And I've been over there a few times in the past several months. And it is important, so next time we'd like a kind
We
of
can
a
go there,
update.
if I get the address, we can go there and dye test it.
Right, thank you.
See how it's-
Don't forget on that, Councilman Molnar actually saw some chuck holes and took a picture of them with our Macedonia app. The minute you take that picture, the GPS tells us exactly where that chuck hole's at. All right, Any other new business?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks for coming.